Well, it looks like all the old kingdom pyramids. I believe they're all recycled. So getting back to that Sphinx thing, if you look at the pyramids on the outside, they tend to be cubits. Yep. If you look at the pyramids on the inside, you're not seeing the cubits much. You're seeing rods and chains in the chambers. Chambers are also built to different engineering tolerances and styles to the outside of the pyramid. The outside of the pyramid is limestone blocks, or mud brick. The inside is hard stone chambers. And they're done in different units to the cubits on the outside, applying it to different places around the world. The Baalbek megaliths check out, there are about 4 of them. They all check out to around about 4 rods.
Oh, interesting.
So whether or not it was the execution or the intention that alters it from being absolutely exact, it doesn't particularly matter. If you start seeing round numbers, that's a positive result. Like people are saying, even with this Sphinx thing, you should publish a paper. But I'm thinking, look, more people have already seen that video than will read that paper. People don't really look up papers. It's almost pointless.
So it's 9 a.m. in Melbourne, Australia on the 23rd. So we are being joined from the future by Dr. Charles Kos, an Australian historian and independent researcher with a PhD in history. Charles has spent decades investigating some of the most intriguing mysteries of the ancient world, from Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid to lost civilizations, ancient surveying systems, and forgotten technology. He's got a popular YouTube channel that combines rigorous historical research with fresh evidence-based analysis to explore questions that mainstream archaeology often leaves unanswered, which is one of our favorite things to talk about here on this channel. Right, Megan? And I'm also joined by my lovely producer, Megan.
Hey, guys. Yeah, this is going to be a good one today.
Yeah, one of my favorite topics, lost ancient civilizations. Thanks so much, Charles, for joining the Multiverse. How are you today?
Oh, very well, Dave. Thanks very much for having me on your wonderful show. Thank you, Megan, as well. Nice to meet you both, and hope we can raise some interesting discussion here and nice topics.
Yeah, let's do it. Wanted to shout out Aleksander Czeszkiewicz. He's the guy who connected us. He's our editor, author of it's back there somewhere. Déjà Vu has everything already been, and it's an excellent book written by a very brilliant young guy. How do you know Oleg, Charles?
I met him through a mutual friend, Steve and Evan Strong. They're in northern New South Wales, and Oleg recommended we did like a joint thing like this, and we were all talking. It actually went really well, and with another Australian author as well. I can't place him at the moment, but it was absolutely amazing. It was yeah.
Yeah, he's impressive, huh? For like he's such a young guy.
Yes. When I was 20, I definitely wasn't writing books.
No, definitely not. So shout out to him. He's probably blushing right now as he watches this. Let's start, like, because I just watched this, and so I wanted to talk about this right away because I think it's very interesting. Your most recent video, in the name is "I Measured the Sphinx. Egyptology Got It Very Wrong." Very compelling. I just wanted to pull this up, and I was wondering if you could go over this with us. Just a little bit, because I think if this is true, then we're definitely dealing with a much older Sphinx, right?
Yes. Yep. And not only the body, but the head as well. The head as well may well be pre-dynastic Egyptian, because the head tends to check out in a non-Egyptian unit called the rods.
Okay.
This is known in the Germanic world as 2 units. The Saxons used it, and which they called it the perch. It survived into modern times as the rod, and in Rhineland it was also used. And that's it. That's the only places on the planet it's found today or in human history, unless we start looking at megalithic structures, and then you start to find it quite a lot.
So, would you go ahead and sort of explain the basic, like the conclusions that you've drawn from these measurements, as far as like the different measurements in different places, and how that could mean it would be much older?
Yes, well, I started finding this unit when I was investigating Stonehenge, Avebury, and other structures. I thought, okay, let's apply it to Egypt. Wow, it starts working. I started applying it to different places around the world. The Baalbek megaliths check out, there are about 4 of them. They all check out to around about 4 rods.
Oh, interesting.
So whether or not it was the execution or the intention that alters it from being absolutely exact, it doesn't particularly matter. If you start seeing round numbers, that's a positive result. Here with the Sphinx, we see the height is basically 4 rods. That is one chain, 66 feet, one chain. A chain is a modern unit, well, from the 1600s, but it also seems to be an ancient unit. A bloke called Gunther metricized the chain at 100 links in the 1600s, but he seems to have been using an earlier unit of 66 feet. So that's twice 33. And for a rod, it's half 33. It's 16 and a half feet. So that's how we get the rods. And I've noticed that, I've noticed so many people, metrologists, even people like Flinders Petrie. He went into Egypt. He went to Stonehenge with his surveying. He only ever talks about feet, inches, cubits. Why not the other British units where you start getting results like this? I don't think he was even aware of these units.
Yeah. So you're basically arguing that the dynastic Egyptians inherited and overlaid the royal cubit on an older system of measurement, right?
Pretty much. If you go to the king's chamber, the ground checks out at 10 by 20 cubits, royal cubits. However, what didn't escape my attention was the fact that it's almost exactly 1 times 2 rods. So this is the earlier underlying civilization. Yes. And then I started to think, yeah, if this is important to them, why is it in 1 by 2 rods, a unit that the Egyptians supposedly didn't use? And this unit isn't found in ancient dynastic Egypt. So this is something they may have inherited, the king's chamber inside the Great Pyramid. Or it was a crossover from an even earlier civilization. So it's just pre-dynastic. And then the much earlier civilization just used rods, and they were a worldwide people.
Wow. So the cubit, you talk about in the video, the cubit as a bureaucratic tool for like how do you see it as a bureaucratic tool for control fit, like with your wider views of like a lost global surveying project, because you talk about it a bit in the video.
I do. So the cubit is the Egyptian unit, and the cubit seems to have been imposed on the earlier structures. And what I mean is, the Egyptians seem to have been taking foundations. The foundations are in rods, and they're imposing cubits on the structures built on top of the foundations. So we're seeing the rods, even worldwide, in the earliest part of the structure, such as the dimensional layout, the layout of the site.
Right.
Where the rods come from, they come from British agriculture. They're an agricultural unit to do a wide-scale survey. Then we see things like the building itself, and that might be in a more local unit. And we see this worldwide, just endless recycling. And there's more. you see on this chart the cubits. It's 140 cubits, so that's a very elegant number. That was for for some renovations which were done by the dynastic Egyptians, maybe the New Kingdom. But here's the problem, and this is a problem for Egyptologists as well. The cubit is also possibly worldwide.
Huh.
So we have a worldwide civilization overlaid on an earlier worldwide civilization, overlaid on an earlier worldwide civilization. There is a Persian cubit, and it is identical to the Egyptian cubit.
I believe it. So this rod and chain system, that's the earliest one?
That's the earliest one, the rod and chains. Particularly because, that 2025 discovery of the deep underground, whether or not that's true, I know that one's a bit of a stretch, but that is exactly in rods and chains and beautiful round number versions of it. So whoever did that, that's remarkable. But I was expecting to find the rods in there. So if it had to be anything, it had to be that. And that's what it turned out to be.
Where else do you find rods and chains systems? Where else do you find that?
Everywhere.
Like North America?
Well, here's the thing. I haven't really checked North America too much.
You probably could with the mound builders. Maybe the mound builders used it. I don't know.
I think America's a little bit difficult, but certainly at the Serpent Mound, it could be checked. And yeah, it could be checked. There are early surveys of some of those mounds, even ones that haven't survived. And so that there is lots to check there. I've even found it in Australia at Mullumbimby. We had a kind of serpent mound here, which was demolished in the 1940s. And Stephen Evans did a lot of work.
I mean, not sweet. Is there pictures of it?
No, there's no photographs. There was a survey done by an archaeologist, and basically it was small upright stones in the shape of a serpent on a huge hill. And a farmer demolished this in the 40s. I think he'd been forced to demolish it. And basically there is an artificial looking mound there, and I believe it's literally 2 rods high. So this checks out worldwide. It was a worldwide earth engineering measurement system. And if it's also used in the deep underground, then we're talking a more industrial, under Giza, a more industrial kind of measurement system by a more industrial people. So when might that be? Before the Holocene, possibly? So that throws a spanner in the works too.
Yeah, it really does. So there may have been a master plan grid using the rod chain system potentially.
Yeah, it might have been the units used by the lost civilization, and it fits quite well into various things. There is also an English cubit, which is 1.5 feet. It's not that much different from the Egyptian cubit. So the Egyptians may have been trying to metricize a rod. That is, there's about 9.7 cubits in a rod. So they may have taken the king's chamber, the width. Let's make that 10 rods by 20 rods. Or they may have simply changed a pre-existing cubit to use their cubits. But because they're focused on using the cubit, which is a much smaller unit than a rod, doesn't that show that the dynastic Egyptians are building less or building smaller buildings than a civilization which is using the rod to build huge buildings?
They're building it on top of it. And you mentioned that the cubit might have been a global measurement as well.
Yes. So it seems to have been used worldwide. Korokanka in now there's a problem with measuring, right? This is the problem. The best measured sites worldwide, the best measured site is Giza and the Great Pyramid. When we start trying to apply the measurements to other sites, especially even Inca sites, Mayan pyramids, Japanese burial mounds, Japanese tombs, which are very similar to Scottish tombs, which is another clue. We don't really have precise units. They tend to be round numbers. Archaeologists haven't even bothered to write down exactly what the measures are. So I think people should, when they visit sites, I would love if they actually just took a 10-meter tape measure and measured these sites, because we don't even have many figures available. So when I'm trying to apply this worldwide, I can't really get exact figures. It's a bit difficult.
Right. That makes sense. But
yes, cubits are worldwide as well. So these Egyptians, they came from somewhere. Hang on, I'll show you something.
Yeah, let's see it.
Chinese paintings of Ming and Qing dynasties, 14th to 20th centuries. Now here's a Chinese painting, right? Oops. There we go.
Back it off a bit.
You see that?
Oh no, yeah, I see what you're trying to do. Yeah.
A cartouche.
Oh wow.
The Chinese painted in cartouches.
Weird.
You see that red?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So this
Bizarre.
was something which was maybe across the world. This shows the civilization in Egypt isn't localized to Egypt. It's a mix of peoples from Eurasia and elsewhere.
I think that's obvious and probably way back. That's so fascinating. I watched that today and I was like, man, if you're just looking at that kind of blows the door wide open. It's just one other thing though we can add to the whole puzzle. But I was like, man, this he's onto something here. And I love the idea of a global grid, like a master plan from whoever was like pre-dynastic, like whoever was younger Dryas impact, or whatever you want to call it, solar burst, whatever. But that's exciting. So I wanted to talk a little bit about you today, and your origin story and that kind of thing, because you've got a really cool channel. I think it's 49K subscribers right now. Lots of great content. We just talked about your most recent video, but how did you lead us into starting a YouTube channel? And I know it's probably a long story, because I want to know what got you started, like as a young child or whatever. Like what was your interest in history, and then like what was your first look into the idea of a lost ancient civilization? Take it from there.
Well, I was just absolutely fascinated. In the 90s, we had the best ancient mystery shows on TV, the best documentaries.
We did, yeah.
Oh, I remember there was one special, Eric von Däniken going to the Mayan, to revisit the Mayan tombs with some American bloke and it was a big show at the time, and talking about saying that Teotihuacan is a map of the solar system. How did they know about this? What about known about the extra planets, Neptune? What's going on? And I used to go to the library and try and get as many books about ancient mysteries as I could. There was such beautiful books from the 70s made about them. I'm sure you remember. And now if you go to that section of the library, it's more about conspiracy books. But before it was more about UFOs, aliens, ancient mysteries, and things like, spontaneous human combustion, strange disappearances, Bermuda Triangle.
I love that shit.
Yeah, I just thought this is the most amazing stuff ever. So I went to uni. I did chemistry, and then I changed. I thought I finished that, and I thought, science is great. And I'm trying to apply some science into the history by measuring, right? Like Flinders Petrie, the father of archaeology. Flinders Petrie measured, right? Modern archaeology is a bit more skewed towards art appreciation than taking measurements. Unfortunately, I think that might be an issue for them. So I did history. I thought this is so much fun. I did Robin Hood for a PhD.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot to discover. Basically, the whole 13th century in England, it's uncharted waters. The first biography of King Henry III He ruled for 60 years, 60 years on the throne, or 50 or 60 years. There was no popular small biography of this guy until a couple of years ago. That's how little known this period is. But what I discovered with my professor, there was a bloke called Robert of Thwing. Thwing is a village in northern England. This name Thing or Thwing, it's where the Vikings held a congress, a parliament. So it's where they discussed things. And there must have been an ancient version of this in this village. But to cut a long story short, what happened was he had some land taken from him because King John, a few years earlier, had given England to the Pope. England was a papal territory in the 13th century. The Pope was sending his men over because they were the new aristocracy, and they were taking over lands from English nobles. And it says in a book by a chronicler, Matthew Paris, the most prolific chronicler of the Middle Ages, that this guy, Robert of Thwing, was found to be a bloke who went by the name William Wither, William the Angry. He went around with 50 men all around England, wearing hoods, on horses. He was a knight. And because he hadn't gotten any satisfaction from anyone about some guy from Rome taking over his lands, they issued a proclamation, and they said, we're going to burn the lands of all these people coming over. And and what he did, he took the corn out of their churches. This is wheat. They call it wheat in Europe, which is the corn. And they sold it or gave it to the poor, and then threw the coins, the proceeds, to the poor. And they did this throughout all of England for a year, and the king couldn't stop him. Finally, they found out who it was, but they couldn't hang him because he was too popular. And 20 years later, this Matthew Paris, he writes a marginal addition in his chronicle. He says he was a handsome young man, and he was hooded, and he was hooded, and he was pallium. He was palliated. He was wearing a pallium. So he's trying to say this guy was Robin Hood. And that might be the first Robin Hood thing, the first mention.
Whoa.
1250s was that marginal addition, and he was doing this robbing in the 1230s. And then in the 1260s, there's a guy in Nottingham who may have started calling himself Robin Hood, because that is already it's like saying I'm Batman. I'm Al Capone. It's like a popular name. I'm the mafia. It's like saying that, because throughout the Middle Ages, if you were a hoodlum, you were a hoodlum. This is you would be called something like a Robin Hoodsman or a Robin Hood. So this was already part of popular legend in the 1260s. So by the time you have the medieval ballads written about, which are in printed form in the 1400s, 1500s, they are confusing this guy in Yorkshire, Robert of Thwing, with this later guy in Nottingham, and they're combining them.
What if history isn't linear? What if civilizations rise and fall again and again? Discover the shocking truth in Déjà Vu. Has everything already been? By my friend Aleksander Czeszkiewicz. Grab your copy now on Amazon. The link is in the description below. And subscribe to Dave's Multiverse on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble today so you don't miss a thing. So in your PhD, you literally say who Robin Hood is. How was that received? You're saying it's this Yorkshire knight named, what's his name?
Robert of Thwing. Well, it was hard to even do it, because I had to rewrite it several times, because the reviewers didn't necessarily like the idea of Robin Hood not being a peasant. Because throughout the 20th century, especially mid-century, there was socialism after the Second World War. So there was more egalitarianism. So they were saying Robin is a yeoman. A yeoman is a late Middle Ages pseudo middle class, a guy who might own some land. That's a yeoman. But what they weren't saying, and what my professor noticed, was back in the real Middle Ages, a few centuries earlier, a yeoman means you're working for the king as a knight. You're a household cavalry. And they still call this household cavalry yeomans. So so lots of these scholars, they have a little bit of tunnel vision, or maybe a lot of tunnel vision. And anyway, so yeah, it's up on the internet and people can read it. I was working on a paper as well, but I just never got around to finishing it. I had to resubmit it, but I never got around to it because something about the whole academic system, it's just a turnoff. I have to say it's a huge turnoff. So
was it difficult navigating that political academic area when you're trying to get your thesis done?
Well, yes. I mean, one of my reviewers was saying I need to talk more about how the poor were being oppressed, or something like this. So politics did come into it, and I was telling my professor, "Gee, I just want to do history. I don't want to talk about all this. And that whole academic world, it's I'd say it's less about discovery. It's more about I don't know, talking about Foucault, the 20th century philosopher. I tell you what, it's lots of it is very little to do with history. So I got out of that eventually. I thought, look, this is not really for me. And you look at Robin Hood papers being written today. Some of them are awesome. Some of them are not even discovering anything. They're just going around in circles with fancy language. Fancy language is another way to get a paper through. Even if you're not saying that much, if you're setting a new paradigm or something, or you think you are. But I tell you what, it's getting. I think it's getting less about history, and it's getting more about dogma. So, and that is why I was able to make this discovery, because there was so much dogma holding back the reality that this guy was a knight. If you want a movie comparison, I'd say the Kevin Costner movie is pretty close. This guy may have gone on a crusade as well. He was sent to Rome to apologize to the Pope, but we don't know if he actually went to Rome. He was last. This Robert Thwing. He was last. He's last in the record beating up someone that he didn't like in the 1250s, I think, and that's all we hear of him. He was buried in a church in North Yorkshire. I'd love to go there one day and see if I can find his tomb. Or apparently he's buried in the church, but it might be unmarked. That
sounds like fun, though. That must have been fun, as a topic for your PhD, though. I would have had a blast with that. My biggest familiarity with Robin Hood, unfortunately, is the Kevin Costner movie, but I've seen it like a million times because it was like one of my dad's favorite movies.
I was actually watching the Disney Hood Robin Hood with my niece this week.
Oh, nice. That was my first introduction to Robin Hood, was that Disney movie. But it's always been a story that's been near and dear to my heart. And I even just as a little kid watching that one, the firefly scene is like one of my faves in that. That must have been a lot of fun, man. So am I understanding this correctly? It's politically incorrect to consider him not a peasant. Is that what? Interesting. So did they say that about the movie at the time, or did they say that about that movie? Because he's definitely not in that movie. He's like a rich man's son.
Yeah, that's because there is a long Robin Hood tradition. So what we've done with the monastic chronicles, this was a bloke called Matthew Paris in St. Albans. He seems to have been the first person to write about Robin Hood just after the events happened. And he was you could call him a conservative. He was anti the Romans coming over. He called them Romans, but they were Italians from Rome and taking over English lands. And this is something, because the 13th century isn't well covered by historians, no one knows about this. My professor didn't know about this. Medieval history, he didn't know about this. It's only in the chronicles and in a few old papers. But as you go through the Robin Hood history, there are more and more books about him. The ballads appear centuries after the 1230s. When books started to be published, most of them are printed books after 1492, when the first printing presses appeared in Britain, sold in London to a new middle class, and those stories are already confusing the Nottingham guy who was a peasant, right? He was a bit of a peasant upstart with this earlier guy. And because they're in the late Middle Ages, they would have seen, oh, they said he was a yeoman. That must be one of these lower middle class people, right? And that's how the yeoman thing started, that he was a peasant or lower. And then in the Renaissance, we have a different Robin Hood tradition appearing in which he's a nobleman, and he's a high nobleman related to the king. So there are different traditions. And that Kevin Costner version, it's more like the Renaissance playwright tradition that's co-opting.
In your research, did you ever get your hands on or get a look at some of these old like copies of the text of Robin Hood?
Online, online, and you can even see the Chronicles of Matthew Paris. And so I was trying to read the strange old fonts they used, and I put a picture of it in my PhD of where he said he's palliatum, he's Robertum and thus palliatum. So why is he writing that he's wearing a hood in a marginal edition? What's he trying to say? He might be trying to say that this guy's Robin Hood, because the Robin Hood tradition is emerging in the 1250s. Mm-hmm. He's starting to be called Robin Hood. In other words, this guy's becoming a legend, maybe in his own lifetime. Because if someone with and here's what happened, right? This guy had a forged document, Robert of Thwing. He forged a document with the king's seal because he was connected to the high nobility. And this was almost a civil war situation in England. The English nobles did not want their lands being taken over or appropriated by people coming over, literally from Rome, and saying, this is mine, I'll have this church. This church is going to my son, not to your son now. And this is what was happening to Robert and many other nobles. He had forged documents saying, do not interfere with these men. Leave them alone. It's order of the king. Let them do what they want. And the king had no idea about this. And they were showing it says in the Chronicle, they were showing this to the sheriffs, and the sheriffs couldn't stop them. So you have this kind of almost like a superhero who's going around England and no one can stop him. So wouldn't this become a great legend over time?
I think it's exciting. I think it takes like, some courage to shoot that shot too. Try to find who Robin Hood is. And I think it's a compelling, compelling case. And is that normal? Do other people like try to do that for their PhD or no?
No, but there were some very interesting PhDs. For example, one guy in my group, he came to the conclusion that there were two Bedes, the Venerable Bede, this English historian. I think he said he lived a bit too long, so there might have been two of them. And another guy was starting a second PhD. He was a computer science professor. He retired. He was starting another PhD in finding out the Pythagorean numbers in Shakespeare. So he began a presentation saying, I am a Pythagorean, and I believe Shakespeare has left some clues in his plays for fellow Pythagoreans. So, there were some very open-minded people doing that as well. My professor was very open-minded as well. But he understood the system as well, that not everyone is like that. So that is a problem with the academic world. I actually don't like it very much. Like, people are saying, even with this Sphinx thing, you should publish a paper. But I'm thinking, look, more people have already seen that video than will read that paper. People don't really look up papers. It's almost pointless. And it's almost obsolete, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can put that in a book much easier and say more about what I think is true,
Yeah. Speaking of which, you did write a book. Here it is. It's a good pivot to, because I wanted to talk about one of your other recent videos about how Egyptology is a cult. But first, let's talk about your book, In Search of the Origin of Pyramids and the Lost Gods of Giza. tell us about the process of writing this book and sort of the main thesis here.
Well, I wrote this after I did my PhD, which was 100,000 words, and this one was also 100,000 words because I just wanted to. I'd been traveling around Europe, and I noticed something. I was in Poland, in Krakow, and there is a cemetery, right? Go up the cemetery. Oh, you're walking onto a plateau. There's a plateau there. And on top of the plateau are mounds. And I thought this is similar to Giza. Mm-hmm. And one of these mounds, the Krakow's mound, anyway, there's a hemispherical mound. Why is it a hemisphere? What's going on? Oh, this is similar to what Livio Staccini was writing in the 60s in a book called The Mysteries of the Egyptian Pyramids. He wrote the appendix for it. It was used by Peter Tompkins for the appendix. And he said the Great Pyramid is a map of the northern hemisphere of the world. Oh, it's venerating the northern hemisphere of the world. So there was some kind of world worship back in the day. And this might be what the Great Pyramid was trying to do, or what it was trying to do when it was hijacked by later civilizations. And I sort of started thinking, well, is this why Bud, the god Bud, there's a round version of Bud? Now, there are lots of Asian gods, but they started calling them basically all Bud in order to be congruent, different types of Bud when Buddhism took over that region, or the new version of Buddhism took over that region. And he's a big round guy. Is he the planet? Is he Earth? Is he the Earth worship that the pyramids and these hemispherical mounds, some of them are more hemispherical than others, are trying to do? And so I started saying, okay, these things around Europe, these are like pyramids. These are the European version of pyramids. Mm-hmm. And so the first half of this book, it's really good. It's a travelogue. Second half, look, it's a very long book. You don't need to read the second half. It's getting a bit wordy, but I'm saying the pyramid is basically a four-faced staff god. There is a type of Shiva which has four faces and a fifth face pointing at the sky. And this is very similar. I've found there is an Egyptian version called Baneb-Dejet. It's a ram god with four faces looking in different directions. And this seems to be similar to what we're seeing in the pyramid. Northeast, southwest. It's a god at the center of the world looking in different directions. And this is the more primitive aspect of Giza, because Giza has two different aspects, and neither of them was a tomb. There was an unknown super engineering aspect to it.
Yes.
And then there is a religious aspect, because let's face it, that is one hell of a tombstone. It's more than a tombstone.
Oh, yeah.
Much
more. Yeah, it's super engineering and super spiritual machine of sorts.
Yes, and it may have been used for different purposes by different civilizations over time, however old it is.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think people just kept finding it until you go back to the original whoever built it. Tell us about the writing process a little bit. Like, what was your thought process while writing the book, and how hard is it writing a book?
Yeah, it's very hard. So this one, I basically, the process is you start with drafts, you start with, and then you change what the book, as you write, you change what the object of the book is going to be. Mm-hmm. And then you put some of it into a draft for another book. And you'll do this over and over again. When it gets to a final form, you start printing out everything. I did this with my PhD as well. You print out the lot, you read it, you write down all the errors, you go through it, and you keep doing this over and over again until you can't find any errors. And I'm doing this with another book, but I'm reading it on the Kindle this time and writing down the errors, and which is similar, based on this rod topic. And eventually it gets really good. So this one is actually really well written because I put the work into it. Other ones I did not so good, but this one really good, especially the first half. People really enjoy it. So, but yeah, the second half a little bit too wordy. I might have gone a bit overboard there. So, but the first half I think is fairly solid and good research, good historiography, good travelogue, and entertaining.
Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and get it on order. $9.99 on Amazon. You can find it there. I wanted to talk to you about a recent video. I mentioned it earlier, about Egyptology being a cult. And I've heard this before. It functions more like a cult than a science, is more like what you said. You didn't say it was an exact cult. What do you see as the biggest like structural or cultural reasons for this type of behavior within an academic circle?
Everything academic is based on the notions of the time and the politics of the day. Especially archaeology is basically a 20th century idea. It started with Flinders Petrie. He said, I'm making this scientific by measuring. It's something they've actually kind of almost forgotten, right? And so they're like, okay, we're scientists now. Archaeologists are scientists. And because we're scientists, we have to be careful. We can't overstate the situation. Around mid-century, but it went from the 19th century as well, there was a kind of notion that we can't have any cultural appropriation. We're in a decolonization era now. People are having their own cultures now. They can't be colonial. We can't say Egypt was ever taken over by anyone, even though Egypt, for all of its modern history, has been owned by people who are from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Look at the medieval Egypt. These were Turks from Central Asia. Look at colonial Egypt. Look at Napoleon's Egypt. Look at Turkish Egypt. It's always been owned by someone else. Why not?
You can't say that in a past context?
We're not allowed to say that in a past context. It's always the Egyptians. And they say it's because we're not finding a warrior culture. We're not finding weapons. Well, hang on a second. You can have peaceful migration. You can have a peaceful takeover. And Egyptian history does record this with the Hyksos people. It records this with the Khufu legend, the Saurid legend, saying that it's a time capsule and there's other people coming into Egypt. We know that cubits are used in that whole region, not just Egypt. But the archaeologists, so this is problem one, the archaeologists are throwing a wall around all of ancient Egypt from 3000 BC to 500 BC when the Persians took over, and they're saying this has always been only Egyptian. That's one problem.
Right.
And there are more problems. Occam's razor. The pyramid is only a tomb because that is not only, it's the simplest explanation that we can conceive at the moment in the 20th century, because we don't understand Livio Stacchini's mathematics showing that it represents the earth. We don't understand engineering because we're not engineers. I'm not an engineer either, but I'm trying to appreciate the technology they used is slightly beyond what the archaeologists are saying it was. So because they're not being disciplinary, that's the thing. They're being politically correct to their day, which is, I suppose, mid-century decolonization, and that is lingering to today. But it might change, because now we're saying there's a lot of mass migration around the world. People are living where they want to live. So that view might shift. Tor Heyerdahl, for instance, he said that people used to think there was no transatlantic voyages because they were living in a paradigm of steam travel or petrol travel using fuel. And they thought you need to have fuel to cross an ocean. So they said sail is therefore, how can that be? It doesn't work.
We know they did, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to the, Egyptians, there's all this like, I don't know, weird sacred science and star knowledge and whatnot. There's all this evidence of lost civilizations or a cyclical history. Even they talk about it, like the old times, like Zep Tepe or whatever. How old do you think these pyramids could possibly be? I'm pretty open. I'm pretty wide open on the pyramids, to be honest.
Well, it looks like all the old kingdom pyramids. I believe they're all recycled. So getting back to that Sphinx thing, if you look at the pyramids on the outside, they tend to be cubits. If you look at the pyramids on the inside, you're not seeing the cubits much. You're seeing rods and chains in the chambers. Chambers are also built to different engineering tolerances and styles to the outside of the pyramid. The outside of the pyramid is limestone blocks, or mud brick. The inside is hard stone chambers, and they're done in different units to the cubits on the outside. So therefore, the pyramids, they're at least pre-dynastic, most of them, but the outsides have been redone in the Old Kingdom. Because they're like, let's take this ruin. This ruin can be your pyramid. Oh, my brother, he can have this pyramid. That's his pyramid. We've got plenty of workers, artisans. We'll redo the exterior, make it nice, and that's his pyramid. And we're locking our ancestors, if we are burying them there in the Old Kingdom, into the ancient tradition. They're now part of the ancient tradition. Zep Tepe, the Egyptians of the dynastics thought that the Zep Tepe people founded Egypt. They were gods who founded Egypt, and they are the descendants of those gods. So those pyramids, they're pyramids too.
I think they found that shit as well.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I'm open to the idea of them being pre-flood, pre-catastrophe. What do you think the role of catastrophism is in the big picture here that sometimes gets left out?
It's a huge role. I remember doing when I did some archaeology subjects at uni, and the professor of one tutorial, she was ridiculing some guy for saying the Minoans experienced a tsunami. She said, "Damn!" And I was thinking, hang on a sec. Didn't we just have a tsunami, a huge tsunami that killed 1 million people in Asia? This is no longer throughout the 20th century. A tsunami was not something that ever occurred. But then we saw what a catastrophe can do.
Right.
It can wipe out a people. The Holocene period, the warm period we're in, is a reshaped Earth. It's the sea levels have gone up 60 meters at least. So that's where to look for the lost civilization, under the water.
Yeah, that's what Graham Hancock did in his book. I think it's a blue one right back there. Underworld. Yeah. He's a big inspiration for me. What was like, you mentioned watching the old Van Däniken documentaries and stuff, but was there anybody that was like a big inspiration for you? Any researchers or authors or a big inspiration for you going into university and like starting your channel?
I just used to read all the ancient mystery books, basically all Graham Hancock as well in the 90s.
Yeah.
Robert Bauval, Orion Mystery, obviously. I thought that's amazing. Oh, that was, that's, I used to, I've read as many Von Dänikens as I could read. He's actually a very, very clever guy. Lots of his style, he dumbs it down in Chariots and other books. But in other books, there's one on religion. He goes to a higher level. So it's quite interesting. All these researchers, I used to love the 70s sort of atlases of ancient mysteries. There were these huge books, and they take you through every ancient mystery that was current at the time. There was a beautiful doco in 91, Mysteries of the Ancient World, or 92. I taped it on VCR and watched it 1 million times. And, good times. Memories.
Yeah, good times. I love the days where like I had to read a book. Everything wasn't just on YouTube, so I could just turn it on and watch it on YouTube. But at least now we have YouTube channels, so we can talk about this stuff. Talk about all these old ancient books and stuff. Would it be possible for you to walk us through your civilization system 1, 2, and 3, the rod builders, the shadow rods, and then Khufu's later modifications? Is that something you could do for us? Because I think that's important in your overall picture of how you see ancient Egypt and lost ancient civilizations in general. Would you go ahead and do that?
Yes. So this thing, I have put it through all the AIs. I've put it through Claude. People told me, okay, try putting this through Claude, which is the tough one, not just Gemini, which agrees with everything. I discovered this using Claude. Claude agrees with it. It's not just trying to butter me up. It's found the measures, and so that's why I'm challenging people. Look, these are my results. Measure it for yourselves, and see for yourselves if it fits, if it doesn't fit. And I'm open to it. I'm open to anyone trying to challenge this. Civilization 1. Now, the measurements for this are based on the fact that I'm finding the rod worldwide. So I asked AI, look, and I measured this even before AI, that deep underground, a kilometer down, the 2025 discovery, the SAR radar, and people are saying it can't be real because I know this or I know that. But when you look at it in rods and chains, it's perfecto. It's perfecto, and it's incredible, and it comes to beautiful numbers. You get really beautiful numbers doing that. So, and there's another thing: if you're digging down a kilometer, how advanced did we get before we were able to do that? We can do that, but how advanced? And we don't really do that unless it's a mine.
Yeah.
How advanced did we have to be? I guess 19th, 20th century, right?
Yeah.
So that's civilization 1, and they seem to have built the pyramid as well, because the pyramid is pretty close to the rods, but just off because Khufu may have modified it. So civilization 2. These might be.
How old potentially is civilization 1 in your view?
Well, if it's industrial, it has to be pre-dynastic. It has to be pre end of the Ice Age.
Yeah.
And the reason for this is that there's multiplicity of evidence, right? There's huge evidence, cross-disciplinary. One of them is you look at the location of Egypt, 30 degrees north of the equator. Is that I think it's 29. Is that on purpose? Are they trying to divide the tropical means thirds? So you've divided the system by thirds. You're a third of the way up from the equator. That's a sign. That's a clue, right? You're leaving a clue for a future civilization. That's clue number 1, the location. It's not too far from the equator, because you couldn't be too far from the equator in the Ice Age. It got exponentially. It was similar temperatures around the equator to today, a bit cooler, but as you got further north, it got exponentially colder. So you couldn't live as far north as you could live in the Mediterranean, maybe, but not any further north than that. It was a bit chilly. It's like, central or northern Canada, maybe. Want to do it. So that's another piece of evidence. Why are we finding all the stones close to the equator? In Indonesia, Borobudur, in Egypt, in Mexico. You're right, Megan. In Mexico is pretty tropical.
Yeah.
Look at the Mayan pyramids. To me, they look like cut up megaliths that they've used to build those pyramids. They've chopped them up, some earlier civilization. There's more evidence. A bloke a long time ago, he found...
those are all completely put back together. Sorry to interrupt. Like Chichen Itza and stuff is like completely rebuilt. That's not its original form. I went there twice before I knew that. And then I talked to Michael Collins, the Wandering Wolf, and he told me, nope, that's most of it's cement. It's completely rebuilt.
That explains a lot, and it confuses us too.
Yeah, because
I see that at every ancient site, like even in Ireland, that lots has been rebuilt, even some of the round towers. So you can't tell the difference between the medieval precision and the modern sometimes.
Even we do that. Yeah, we rebuild stuff, and so somebody might think somebody else built stuff because we were building there. You know what I mean? The local mayor or something. For when it comes to the lost ancient civilization, I think I keep my mind open to these places like in Mexico and in Peru and in Northern Africa and stuff. They must be. It's possible that's the that was the ancient civilization that existed pre-Ice Age. And I don't like live with that. Like, it's not like my like I don't die on that hill. But I'm open to it, and I don't think anyone's proved that they aren't at this point.
Well, Indonesia, that you brought up Indonesia, I'm doing some stuff over there, and there's all sorts of pyramids they're finding over there that I'm trying to get some LiDAR on currently. But yeah, like there's all sorts of evidence, and it would have been a beautiful climate there at the end of the last ice age. So totally.
Yeah, and Cassie Coppersmith was just on Joe Rogan talking about all this stuff in Cambodia, lost ancient civilization connections. You know, it seems to become the mainstream idea, even over the academic opinion. Is this like a weird time to be alive? It was never like this before.
Pretty much. This is why I'm saying a lot of the academic world is simply obsolete, because they have created a dogma that is now holding back further progress. And the progress is now actually being made by the ancient mysteries people who are visiting these sites year round. Yeah, like you, Megan. Because the academics, they are teachers. They are stuck at uni marking assignments, essays with their PhD master's students. They're even trying to write their own book. They don't have time. They can visit Egypt 2-3 weeks a year, and they go to the same site for 20 years and never go anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then they might not even have time to write up their papers. And this is something that people don't know, that I've been telling them a few times. I think half or less than half of archaeologists write up all the reports of everything they've excavated. Mm-hmm. So there were excavations on Stonehenge, on the Sphinx in the mid-century, which have never been written up. We don't know what they tampered with, what they did, what they discovered. They don't have time. So we're doing it, they're not.
Wow. Yeah, there's no way to go back and get that information. It's gone forever. That's wild. That's wild. I was asking you to explain the civilization 1, 2, and 3. You talked about 1, and then I had you go off. I led you off on a tangent. But could you tell us about like civilization 2, and then how that leads into Khufu's like modifications and stuff like that?
Yes. So civilization 1, they might be the gods. The Egyptians call them the gods who walked on Earth, and they say they founded Egypt. Civilization 2 might be what's called the Shamsu-Hor, or the followers of Horus. And the Egyptians held that these people came into Egypt and they took over. They were the demigods. Mm-hmm. They were also very advanced people, great builders. And I think all these diorite statues with the headdress we're seeing, that funny Egyptian headdress, I think they might be the pre-dynastics. Because that headdress is in the Sphinx head, and that Sphinx head is in rods and chains. I think that Sphinx was buried for most of Egyptian history. So that might be civilization 2. And they used the rod, but they knew about the cubit as well. So they're a crossover between the dynastic Egypt to come and the past God civilization in the past. And as for what they did, I think they may have done the King's Chamber, because the King's Chamber, it's a rod times 2 rods, but it's not. It's the unit's different. Why is it different? Oh, they might have built the chamber. They might have built that chamber. And I'm calling them now, I'm also calling them the chamber builders, because they might have built king's chambers elsewhere. The Coricancha ruin, the finest Inca architecture, seems to be, it's another 1 times 2 length rectangle. It might be another king's chamber. So that's civilization 2. Civilization 3, the dynastic Egyptians. They went around, and you see this proven with Khufu's father. They went around. The archaeologists will claim he built 3 massive pyramids, more work than all of Egyptian history combined.
No.
No, he just seems to have redone them a little bit or fixed them up, claimed them, maybe looked for treasure, I imagine. That's exactly what he did. And that is proven when we look at the collapsed pyramid, because that is proven in the engineering. They built the casing stones over sand, but the pyramid is built over rock. And those stones fell down.
Right.
That is the proof. You don't build it on rock and then add to it over sand, but you add to it if you're not the builder and you don't have that level of experience, not the original builder. Yes. That is evidence right there that they cased it. And I've been saying for a long time, it's like they built it in layers and Khufu just simply cased it. We know he was tampering with the casing stones because of that graffiti that's been found. The notes which have been found. And they are taking the casing stones there. But there's no notes saying, oh, we took the King's Chamber stones there, or we did any of this. And in fact, that is, and we see that is, it's not really in cubits, it's not really in rods, it's in a crossover thing. I'm just calling it temporarily the shadow rod. It is slightly less. It is 197.87 inches instead of 198 inches. So it's almost right on 5 meters, you know. Anyway.
Yeah. In the video, where you did the metrological analysis of the Great Pyramid, the video cites radiocarbon dating of mortar samples, and those are the notes that I took. Being hundreds of years older than Khufu's reign, plus logistical issues with Sneferu's output. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think hundreds of years older than Khufu's reign is significant.
It's very significant. And this is why people like Robert Temple, for example, I read his Egyptian Dawn 2010. I recommend that. That's whoa. He reckons they're 3000 BC and Khufu hijacked them. I think maybe as well. So basically most of the carbon datings, especially the earliest studies, they are about, many of them are 400 years older. In the 90s, there was a 60s study. There's a 1984 study. They're more like 100 to 300 years older. But the problem is, if you do a study, you want to publish it, right? So to publish it, you're not allowed to suddenly say, "Oh, this is 10,000 years," "Oh, this is 5,000 years." Are you? That won't be
Dr.
published.
Danny Hillman found that out the hard way with his paper about his pyramid in Indonesia. Nobody liked his numbers. Yeah, they rejected it and got it taken away.
Well, that's the definition of peer review. It has to be there is a gravitational inertia of all the other dogma, which it has to match, right? Yeah. And if it's not matching that dogma, that's what peer review means. You have to match the dogma. People think it means something more than it is. It just means a couple guys have to like you, and it also means that it's congruent with the dogmatic teachings we have been teaching our students. We don't want to look like idiots, do we?
That's not science.
That's not science. That's right.
They want you to check certain boxes too. In order to get a certain grade, you got to check certain boxes. Yeah. It's almost unscientific, because you should be. Those are the. Put a paper like that out there that asks a bunch of questions and then have everyone ask questions about it. Do you know what I mean? That should be how it's done, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. So that's why I see, and this is what I was saying earlier, that the academic world just turned me off because I see it as obsolete. It actually cannot handle the onrush of new information being generated by the travelers and the internet and people visiting these sites.
Yeah, it's true. It can't, because it's sometimes it can be like a whole dude's lifetime. You're waiting for the guard to change, and then a guy retires or something, or unfortunately passes away, and then somebody new with a different idea is in charge, and then you can start asking questions about that, right? It's like you got to wait forever. Whereas like you said, people are visiting these sites, people are writing books about them, people are doing their own research. What sites have you visited around the world, and what were some of your favorite like adventures? Because I know you've done some tours and stuff like that as well.
I used to have a tour business in Melbourne, and I'm thinking about maybe overseas in the future. But I used to do walking tours around Melbourne after I finished the PhD. But so I've been to Europe several times, all around Poland, all around Ireland, parts of England, Holland, and Germany. That's it in Europe. And yeah, visiting ancient sites, ancient churches, ancient graveyards with strange Masonic symbols in Germany on the tombstones. I'm thinking there's some lost knowledge going on here. Like, what's going on there? And why would they do that? And yeah, and Stonehenge. Wow, it's bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you go like with a big tour group, or did you go like? Because we went in the morning, like early. We were like the first ones to get there before the buses came through. And we were with like a group of maybe 20 people, and it was really nice. There was like just some guards standing there, but then there was like a bunch of cool crows hanging around that I got some good pictures with and stuff. But what kind of tour did you do?
I did a local tour from Bath.
So yeah, same.
Yes. And like that's Bath is excellent. You can stay there. You can do day trip to Glastonbury. You can do day trips to Stonehenge, Avebury. It's like one of the best locations.
And Bath is beautiful too. In its own right.
It is an English version for aristocrats of what they thought ancient Rome might have been like. You know, and they built it up over the last few hundred years based on the baths. As you know, and it's and it has this such an old world ancient feel to it. Like
it does.
It's basically a resurrected ancient city of sorts.
Yeah, you're walking around on the sidewalks there, and there's like street performers and stuff like that, and little candy shops, and oh man, that place was beautiful. And so you did a day trip from there to Stonehenge. Stonehenge for me was a lot bigger than I was expecting. And I'm not like Charles I want to be, but like I'm not very like energy sensitive, like UFOs don't talk to me and stuff like that. But I did get like a feeling of like old truth or something like that while I was standing there. That was like sort of the message I got from Stonehenge. Did you pick up anything while you were over there?
Yes, and in fact, that book I talk about the energies I've picked up in different sites, and I was to me the Stonehenge energy. It's a bit ominous. It's like there is something waiting beneath the ground to spring out and reveal its secrets, but it's just this anxiety energy I picked up there.
Yeah.
And whether or not there's energies, if there are, that would help them to choose a location, would it not? And they would say, well, look, this is a place I feel special. This is a place I feel spiritual. Let's honor that and build our spiritual building here, which is going to be spiritual anyway. Yeah.
We all have places like that are spiritual to us, right, Megan?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I feel like they were working with the ley lines of the earth with a lot of these structures as well to harness the energy from the earth.
Yeah. I love to imagine the lost ancient civilization as it, could have been. What do you like? Because you take a very scientific approach to your ideas and stuff like that. Sometimes these topics can get a little like woo woo. How do you feel about the role of because I enjoy some woo woo stuff about lost ancient civilization. It gets me thinking. It gets my brain thinking. You know what I mean? What do you think the role of stuff like that is in getting the truth out there?
I see it as a positive. because the woo started the ancient mysteries in the first place. The ancient mysteries, I think it comes from theosophy, pyramidology, late 19th century clubs. And these people, especially the theosophists, they were a very wealthy club. There's a huge building here in the city in Melbourne, theosophy building, and it's done in the ancient New Kingdom style on the outside, the a bit of Art Deco as well. And these clubs, they were all about Atlantis, lost civilizations, Blavatsky, and they kept an open mind. They didn't necessarily say this is the dogma you have to believe. They said this is what I've channeled, and take it or leave it. If you leave it, we're not going to necessarily hold you to it. You can believe that's okay, because we have room in the other ancient mysteries and the other channelings which are different for you to do that too. And that's what I like.
Yeah.
And that brings people in as well. And they can go off in that direction if they want to. Personally, I'm thinking maybe we can be scientific as well. The ley lines and the measurings in some ways are more scientific than what the archaeologists are doing, because they're measuring. Right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Where does the systemic control come from? Like, what is the nexus of this systemic, like, information control? Just from your point of view, like, is it just like natural human systems at work, or like something more nefarious, or what's going on here?
That's a deep question, isn't it? Because it's control on different levels. It's control. It's as if, so there are hidden laws of physics we don't know, and forces in the universe. One of them is electromagnetism, and this means there is a magnetic control over the information in the universe for whatever reason. There's some inertia around everything. And some people are more tuned into this than others. And it depends on who you speak to. Some people, the more you believe in the official Egyptological narrative, the more you see these Egyptologists as some kind of Shemsuhor or Jet Tepe or whatever. These are the gods on earth. These people, they have spoken. That Khufu was a tomb. I know because they told me. You think an academic's going to lie to me?
It's in his book, guys. It's in his book.
It's in his book. It's out there and it's published. And guess what? He wrote a peer-reviewed paper as well. It can't be denied any longer. It's true. And of course, that is just the opinion of a few people based on a dogma which is now obsolete. So yeah, the control, it's other people, it's the media. The media, whenever they make a documentary, they go, who do they go to? They're not really going to ancient mysteries people, they're going to the authority. Because humans like authority. So, I guess the Egyptologists, I guess the universities. That is only one type of opinion, one type of authority. Right. We're also an authority, aren't we? But so it's people. People are doing this. They're forcing us to look at this Occam's razor type of a view of history. It has to be a tomb. It's one of the biggest structures on Earth, but it's a tomb. Now, I don't know about you, but last time I went to visit the cemetery, there wasn't any tombs looking like that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. It's masterfully, like, perfectly engineered. And I don't think anyone's adequately explained it to me. I mean, I've heard some decent explanations on this show. But it's definitely the great mystery. And if there's like a bunch of shit under there, I don't know if you're following that story, but if there's a bunch of shit under there, that could change everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not just the deep underground. There's I think there's more chambers inside. They've detected in recent times.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think Khufu dug, based on what I've measured, I think Khufu dug his way in, looking for lots of this treasure, found the king's chamber. He dug his way in from the top. That's why his graffiti is on top of the king's chamber. On the, I believe it's, he's left some. They're either granite pillars. I think they're granite pillars, and he's left his graffiti on those. So that shows, okay, he might have come in from there.
Mm-hmm.
He might have come in from the top, and all that graffiti. It's discordant with the engineering. It's rough. It's cheap. All the old kingdom graffiti and artworks, many of them either, if they're done in stone, in impossibly hard stone, they're done perfectly. If they're paintings, or if they're wooden statues from the old kingdom, they look bloody awful. Some of them.
It makes sense that they got in through the top, like, and dug into the pyramid. Maybe the pyramid was covered. In your Sphinx metrology video, you mentioned that the Sphinx potentially was largely untouched for thousands of years and buried. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So Herodotus and Diodorus, these are the two main classical historians who wrote about ancient Egypt. They don't mention the Sphinx. If the Old Kingdom, here's the thing. Well, that's the thing. Now, on the Sphinx, there is an inventory. There is a Sphinx stela, and in addition, there is another stela called the inventory stela. I believe they're two different things. The inventory stela, I believe it says renovation work was done in the New Kingdom, and work was also done on this by Khufu. Renovation work.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There is also the Sphinx stela, which says that Tuthmosis fixed it up a bit. And that's about all I can find. That's about all there is
really
in Egyptian history about the Sphinx. In addition, where is the old kingdom work that's been done on the Sphinx? A lot of what they thought was old kingdom work that's done on the Sphinx renovation, they think might also be New Kingdom work. That might all be Tuthmosis's work, Tuthmosis IV. So what is going on there? That's something that's very interesting. There are other problems. The classical historians place Khufu and the builders after the New Kingdom. Why would they do that? Are they trying to show that Khufu is not the original builder, that there was someone earlier? And as for the Sphinx, they don't mention it. So because because I find such few cubits in the Sphinx, and Egyptologists are convinced that they only really use the cubits for building pyramids and these sorts of things. The only conclusion is that this was hidden. They didn't know about this. This might have been buried. It might have been inside another structure like a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just didn't know about it for much of Egyptian history.
Isn't Filippo Biondi now claiming there's a second Sphinx that's buried? Obviously, they haven't uncovered that yet, but that would be interesting if there is another one that is totally hidden.
Yeah, I might have to look into that. It'll be hard to find the measures, though, and that's a huge problem. You want the measures to be pretty dead on, and Great Pyramid is the one that is well measured, and even that, very few people have measured it. It's quite difficult. But yeah, if that is a second Sphinx, why not? Why not at all? I think I made another video way back saying if it's a dog, this is similar to the Nordic religion. Because at the end of the world, I believe the dog leaps up and swallows the sun. The Sphinx is facing the sun. And in addition, I think there might be 9 pyramids on the plateau, 9 Germanic worlds. And this was another part of my research, that it might be, these are religious components to it as well. So if that is the case, that places it more possibly pre-dynastic world. What were we talking about?
I think that's exactly what we were talking about. So when it comes to like pre-dynastic and potentially cataclysm, like pre 10,500 BC, what sites do you find the most compelling around the world to be part of that puzzle?
Well, there is a massive site. It doesn't have a name, and I forget who discovered it, but I believe it was in the 60s, a bloke noticed that the canals on the Congo Delta in Africa, so we're talking Ice Age maybe, are 1 mile apart. There are massive mega canals. They're all 1 mile apart.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a massive engineering project from the Ice Age? And when you think about the Ice Age, the temperatures of the lower temperatures favor grass. The higher temperatures favor trees. Mm-hmm. So these may have been grasslands, same in Mexico. Why is there a city in a jungle? Because the Mayans found building materials there, and then they were forced to cut down the trees in order to live there, which was a ton of work. But at least they had the building materials on site, maybe from an Ice Age time. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this site, the Congo Delta, and I haven't seen anything else about it. I made a video about it a long time ago saying this bloke came up with this because I found one website about this. Was that the food bowl of the world in the Ice Age? And that's a very impressive thing.
I never knew about that site. And so any others, like, do you connect things like, Teotihuacan and things like that to like a global ancient civilization that would have gone along with potentially the pyramids?
Yes. There's so much evidence. Teotihuacan, I believe they say that the Pyramid of the Sun, the area is the same as the Great Pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
So have they built on the same ancient foundation that they found? That might be an easy way to have made it the same size. They found a foundation from a lost civilization. In Egypt, they built or improved a pyramid on that foundation. In Mexico, the same size building for whatever purpose. Let's build a pyramid on it. Let's recycle it. And they say this was maybe the Toltecs and maybe 400 AD or whatever. There are problems with that, because that pyramid building era was long gone in 400 AD in the old world.
Mm-hmm.
If it's still going in the new world, it's an obsolete religion or whatever it is. So it doesn't match. It should be more like 3000 BC, 2000 BC. So there's scope to make these Mexican pyramids a lot older than they say they are, because that would make them congruent more with the old world.
Yeah, I think they're very well. It's weird that the Teotihuacan is as similar to Giza as it is. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's probably some logical fallacies. We talked to this member Megan, the logical fallacies guy, about the Orion correlation theory. But there is some strong comparisons and correlations there. And so this YouTube channel, when you first started, what was your intention, and like how has it evolved like over time?
Well, my intention was just to point out a few things, just to show people, okay, look, there's this, there's that. And I started pointing out a few things about ancient sites, just looking at pictures saying, look at this, that's weird. Can we explain this? Can we explain that? And eventually I got more into the lost civilization and even a bit of ancient astronaut side of it, because I've always been into that. So, so if you look at like really old videos, I'm even more into that. And yeah, you see even the other Slavs, the Huns, they say the Huns vanished into oblivion. They disappeared. This is conventional history. It doesn't make any sense. So Galileo, that video, I'm saying that there was a bit of earth worship left over. And he was saying the earth is not the only one. In other words, you're blaspheming against the earth. Why would that be blasphemy? What's going on there? You
said the Huns disappeared?
Well, that's right. I mean, they lived a few more generations. They were apparently Chinese people, Han Dynasty. They were multi-ethnic, but they were apparently they say that might be the Han Dynasty living in Europe. Where are they? Where do they go? Their empire seems to have vanished. So I'm saying they might be more like like the people living there today than is acknowledged. So yeah, I've done videos on different things, as you see, the tarots and all this. But yeah, eventually I got more into the lost civilization. A few on Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe's interesting.
Sure is.
It is. What do you think Göbekli Tepe does to the mainstream narrative, and why is it taken so long to like get there with it?
I think it obliterates the mainstream narrative, partly because of division of labor and agriculture. You had to have agriculture to build this. In order to get their papers published, they've been saying these are seasonal hunter-gatherers, in other words, some kind of permaculture. So they went there for the season to harvest their fruit trees or whatever. And while they were there, they decided to set up a permanent temple complex, and then they went off somewhere else, right? In other words, this is a civilization that can barely survive building their stone temples with expert stonemasons. It makes no sense at all, but this is the only thing that was able to get published. So it blows apart that the civilization starts. And if there's a massive flood just before this, well, hang on a sec. That pushes all the domestication way back, and all the skills way back, and the legends too. And
yeah, it could potentially be much older. Yeah. It really could. It could potentially be much older. So doing the YouTube channel and stepping outside of the sort of the mainstream academic narrative as a, historian, how do you deal with like negative pushback from mainstream people? Do you get a lot of that? Like how, because I get that a little bit, and I'm not even like, I don't deal with it very well. I just ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of that there. Like,
just say thank you.
Yeah, they can be a little bit nasty and a bit weird, but that is actually the part of the academic world. There is a bit of nastiness there, and that is also one of the forces which are controlling the dogma and pushing the dogma. Because if you say something new, you're a tall poppy, you're going to be attacked. That is even more the case in the academic world. So they're very careful what they say, aren't they? We've found Göbekli Tepe. Oh, it's hunter-gatherer. Oh, it's not even a civilization, they say. It's because we all know that we used to know civilization, it's Greece and Rome. Then reluctantly, maybe Egypt and Sumer is a civilization. Then in the 90s, 80s, they were saying, oh, Sumer is probably the first civilization, yes. Oh, but now we're finding some cities in the Ukraine, 5000 BC. And we've always ignored Jericho. It's a city from 9000 BC. So, there's these, you can see the dogmas are not fitting in with the archaeological evidence, even decades ago. But yeah, these people, they can be a little bit nasty. You just have to sort of just ignore. So
there's big ass cities in South America and stuff in the jungle and whatnot that they're like super old. So it's funny how they attack. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like do you ever get that? And have you how do you deal with it? Because I think it means that you're on the right track, right? Once you start getting pushback, that's what I think that means.
Well, one of the things, it means you're exposed to a lot of people. So even in the YouTube comments, whenever I start seeing negative comments, it means, oh, they're actually pushing my video to new people instead of just the same people. Because my channel, it's sort of been, I had way more views back when I had 100 subscribers compared to when I have, whatever's thousands. It doesn't really matter because they're not showing it to all of them, I think. You see a lot of negative people. They don't know the background of what I've done to get to that stage. They just see new information that I cannot comprehend and that is discordant with what I've read on Wikipedia and what has been taught to me and what my experience is. Therefore, it must be rubbish, and therefore I'll tell him this, but I'll always make sure to include some nastiness as well to amplify the volume of my comment, just in case he can't see it. And so that's why I can't even debate with these guys, because they can't even be civil. You might have noticed this as well, like
I just say thank you, and then move on. If I start arguing, I get in my head about it all day. So I would say thanks for watching, something along those lines. I just don't like arguing with people, huh, Megan?
No, that's not our jam at all. And honestly, I'm just grateful for their interactions, because good or bad, it's good for us if they're interacting and leaving a comment. So bring it on.
Charles said that too, means they're showing it to other people, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
You mentioned earlier one of my favorite topics. It's like my favorite show, but like not because I believe everything on it, but the whole idea of ancient aliens. Like I've seen like almost every episode of the show, but Paul Wallace. Are you familiar with Paul Wallace and his work?
Yes, this is that bloke I mentioned at the start, where we did the four-way conference. That his name slipped my mind, but yes, Paul Wallace up in Queensland, and slightly familiar. Yes.
Well, how much do you like the ancient alien theory in general as a potential in intervention and all the whole story that you get?
It's very interesting, but I think I don't know if we even need it, because there's so much crossover between the ancient aliens and the ancient civilization.
Yes.
A lot of what von Däniken said in his books, I read his books not necessarily because I believed in the ancient aliens, but because I believed in the lost civilization.
Yeah, right.
A lot of what he was saying is simply stuff that is based on lost civilization. So, is it a good theory? It's a very interesting theory. It explains the old religions, the gods from space. I guess it's hard to conceptualize, because where do they live? There's nowhere to live out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's closed. So that's a huge dilemma. And then you look at the Greys. I did a huge investigation myself just into the Greys, reading everything I could about the aliens and works of Jacques Vallée and all that. And I came to a similar conclusion to him and to other UFO researchers, that these aliens, they sort of live on, they're Earth-based.
Mm-hmm.
They live on Earth.
They could be in the water, or they could be, I don't know, in Antarctica or something like that.
Yeah, they're like an alternate form of life which shows up somehow on Earth under certain circumstances, when people are about to pass out or whatever, or when they experience this. So it's an Earth magnetic phenomena of sorts.
I think they might be drones from like a fifth or sixth dimensional space, sending a drone back in an avatar to like do a job quick. At least that's what I like to think about anyway. So you mentioned UFOs. Did you do any videos about UFOs?
I did one or two. Yes, I did one or two in the past. I'm not sure if I got rid of, if I made them unlisted. I used to do that sometimes when I had to do a job interview a few years ago. I did a finance job for a year, which I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I unlisted a few, but there was one I did. It was a little bit complicated, and I can't even remember the gist of it. Oh, that's right. I was saying that the sun inside the Earth has a magnetic comet tail, which is being pushed away from the Earth by the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And this means, if it's at nighttime, the people on the nighttime are being exposed to more plasma from inside the Earth than the daytime people. Because that solar energy is pushing the comet to the night side of the planet. And this is when all the UFO and creepy stuff happens at nighttime. And I guess there's other reasons too. Maybe the creepy stuff is self-illuminating with a kind of plasma, and that's why you can actually see it in the dark, but you can't see it in the daytime, So that was one thing I came up with. I think that's and I think that would explain a lot of what Jacques Vallée noticed. He noticed there were peaks of UFO activity, 9 p.m., 12 a.m., 3 a.m. In other words, it's like a triple standing wave, which could be generated by this somehow.
It might be related to our sleep cycle.
That's another good point, and that can complicate it as well. That can, yeah.
That would be fascinating. What's your take on like modern UFO disclosure, like what we're getting right now, like war.gov files, and are you following any of that? Like the whistleblowers, the whole thing?
I haven't even really looked into it, but I've looked into previous disclosures, and they always disappointed me because they were always just reports which had been taken down and filed away forever, never looked at again, just UFO reports. So it led me to believe the governments don't have a clue and about this. They just see it as that they know the phenomena exists, but they don't know what it is. So is the disclosure, is it about admitting there is a phenomena? Or is it about admitting they're aliens? So there's different levels to it. I mean, I'd say they have to admit there's a phenomena, right?
They're definitely doing that right now, but they're not like giving us anything good. Speaking of the phenomenon, have you ever experienced like a UFO, UAP, I don't know, some kind of something you can't explain?
Not really. It hasn't really happened to me.
Yeah, same.
I may or may not have seen a ghost or two, but I was sleepy at the time as well. So, and this is the thing, a ghost isn't something that can be proven because it is by definition paranormal. So you can see it, and it stays unproven. And if it is paranormal, it is not quite in our dimension. So how the hell can you prove it? And just because you can't prove it, does that mean that we should dismiss it?
I feel like I've seen a couple ghosts when I was a kid. Megan, have you ever seen a ghost?
I would love to. I'm inviting any ghosts in to come visit.
You are? Screw that. No, thank you.
I like spooky stuff.
No, thank you. I was just thinking back to like some traumatic dreams when I was a kid, and I was like, no, I can't go there. Yeah, I do believe that there's a consciousness like above and around ours in a way that we don't understand. Like, what do you feel about the gap between what we know about consciousness and quantum physics and stuff like that, and like what reality actually is and what we actually probably don't know?
Yeah. So the consciousness, I've been watching a few AI videos recently, and the experts have come to a similar conclusion to my bro. He was a computer science guy, a lecturer. And he says that any sufficiently complex system, anything, even a cup, even a piece of paper, has its own consciousness. And this is because consciousness is in the field. And the field is generating the consciousness. And this is why even something which doesn't live very long, such as an insect, it has its own wisdom. It has its own survival instincts. It doesn't want to die. It wants to be an insect. Any animal, even a fish, we catch the fish. The fish are fighting like hell. That fish, it's slimy. Some of them are nice looking, but they're also yucky. They live in freezing water. But that creature wants to be a fish. It has its own destiny and dreams. Everything seems to have a certain level of it. And I've seen some of these AI experts, some old guy, I don't know his name, but he was one of the AI founding fathers. And he's saying, we're finding out consciousness isn't just the inner theater up here. It's more outer and widespread. And that's a huge thing. And that ties into the UFO system, because suddenly the world becomes a consciousness, which is an information system. And the world is any longer physics, it's an information block. So that means that this UFO stuff, we have to interpret it not just through physics, or they might have come from another planet or whatever, but this is actually information being played to us like a TV movie or a hologram for whatever reason. It's information coming out. Crop circles too. It seems if they're real, I think there might be, there's information crystallizing out of the ground into energy formations. It just keeps happening over and over again. These are some bloody dedicated hoaxes, I tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm a believer of crop circles. You, Megan?
Like, I assume that some of them were elaborate hoaxes that people at some point decided, like, I want to make my property popular by putting a crop circle on it or something like that. But I think that there's also very many that, like, they can't show that it was done by like human means, and I'd like to believe that a lot of them are some phenomena for sure.
I like to believe, but I don't know if you can see it from here, but I got the poster. I want to believe all this stuff, but I like asking questions about it. And that's what I like about your channel, is you're asking questions about lost ancient civilization. Is there a certain topic that you like, you've even most enjoyed covering?
Well, I really enjoyed Göbekli Tepe last year. I made quite a few videos about it because I was just seeing some mythological links, and of course I got a few of the drone commenters in there saying, you can't, Charles, you can't compare, 3,000-year-old mythology with a 10,000-year-old structure. How dare you even make these videos? Stick to what you know. This is archaeology only. What is archaeology? Do you know what it is? It is it is basically looking at ancient pictures, and apparently you're not allowed to say what they are or what they're similar to or anything.
It started with making tomb raiding legal. Your academic purposes.
Exactly. It started as tomb raiding and adventurism in adventurers, Victorian adventurers.
Yeah, and then somehow they control they control the narrative. So you enjoyed doing Göbekli Tepe because it's got so many questions, right? Yes,
and it was also confirming several things that I had suspected. I see proto-Christianity in Göbekli Tepe. I see that there was a proto-Christian religion across Eurasia. If you look at what Jesus, the word means, and I don't want to offend anyone, it is very similar to the word East. It is the religion of worship. Isi. It is worshipping the East. Therefore, this is Easter. There is one Göbekli Tepe statue. These Göbekli Tepe statues, let's face it, these huge pillars, these are a type of cross. One of them, or two of them, in several different enclosures, have basically the image of a man on them, a man on a cross. What's going on? Why did Jesus become so popular so quickly without a conquest? Islam spread very quickly through the Arab conquest. How did Christianity spread, and why did people immediately convert throughout Europe unless there was some pre-existing religion that it was similar to?
Interesting.
And I'm seeing a bit of this in Göbekli Tepe as well, this pro-Christianity. Does that mean it's 10,000 years old? I don't know. I actually don't necessarily believe those carbon dates.
The carbon dates are 10,000 years old?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. It's because we're seeing similar stuff at Easter Island, as you know. The diagrams look similar, and those apparently they're quite recent, or maybe they're old too. I'm seeing everywhere that's similar to Göbekli Tepe as 3000 BC, and then suddenly Göbekli Tepe is the outlier, 10,000 BC. So either the Göbekli Tepe dates are correct, or they're wrong, or maybe they're correct, and everywhere else has actually, because of the dogma, is being too recently dated.
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be interesting? So, for example, we have that god at Karahan Tepe. He's holding his appendage, right? We see that in pre-Egypt. The name of this god is Min. There's a pre-Egyptian, pre-dynastic god, but they're saying it's about 3000 BC, right? well, how can he be 3000 BC in Egypt and the same guy is 10,000, 9,000 BC over there? And he's literally the same god. So it could be those carbon dates are correct, and they have been artificially ignoring all the 10,000 BC data from Egypt, which suddenly makes the pyramid, if you give that great pyramid 10,000 years to grow and to be improved upon and expanded, suddenly that makes more sense than the 20-year timeline that, or 60-year timeline that Egyptian legend speaks of.
They were making a like a more conservative. They were using the more conservative data from the carbon dating as 9,500. Is that what they did? Like just take a more conservative date?
I don't exactly know how they came to these dates. All I see is that for all of history, they've been very reluctant to use these deeper datings or to even ascribe them any significance, such as in the Great Pyramid, centuries older than Khufu. They're saying, okay, they're in there, but they're not significant because they oppose the dogma. Now, suddenly with Göbekli Tepe, we're seeing that, okay, 10,000 years old, it can be that can be peer reviewed because we also think that Jericho is 9,000 BC, right? So okay, that and it's sort of close to the Near East, so that makes sense according to the dogma. So they've accepted those dates. But I think if that had been done decades earlier, I believe that would not have even been published.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So therefore I have to question somewhere the dates aren't making sense to me. My brain's telling me this doesn't make sense. Here's 10,000 BC, here's 2,000 BC.
I don't think it's. I think it's really difficult to make sense of dates that old. I think it's hard to be positive in general, like when we're trying to figure this out, because it's just so long ago, and humans have a hard time like remembering what they did last week. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think Göbekli Tepe is one of my favorite places. I'd love to go there. What are like your top 3 places? Like if you could go and like bring all your friends and stuff, you'd go top 3 places for free. Boom, Dave's Multiverse, free gift. Just kidding.
I guess the same place. I've never been either. Turkey, Italy, and maybe Egypt, as well. But Turkey has everything. It's just an amazing place. It has every civilization. I reckon you could explore it your whole lifetime and just the sites for one civilization. So that's the place.
Yeah, because they have the whole Karahan Tepe region. You could spend your whole life there.
Exactly. They had the Roman civilization for the longest. What a place, and beautiful landscape too. It looks really interesting. Lots of mountains.
How close is it? How close is it to Baalbek in Lebanon? Is that kind of close? I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that too far off. There might be a similar people living there. Yeah, Baalbek. That's places, but a bit dangerous at the moment.
Yeah, I know, but I hopefully I worry about ancient sites in regions like that because I don't want them to get destroyed or anything. Because Baalbek is one of the for me ancient civilization, lost ancient civilization, smoking guns. So you mentioned Egypt. Why Italy?
To see the Cyclopean blocks. Even say under the Theatre of Marcellus, there are these Cyclopean ashlar blocks which look a lot like Pumapunku blocks. And I've run it through AI. Claude is the tough one. It's and it says no, they've probably been quarried for the site. If you look at old pictures, Piranesi, he did the impossible sort of huge rooms. This Italian artist etchings, right? And he drew all of Rome. He made a book on all of Rome archaeology, and he drew stuff that you don't see today. Massive megalithic blocks. And I'd love to visit Rome one day and visit parts of Italy to find some of the remnants of these megalithic blocks. I'm thinking the Romans plonked their city there. It was a city of the gods named after Rama, the Aryan god Rama, which already shows you there's a pre-Roman history. The Etruscans may have had this. Ravenna, that's an Indian god. That's another Italian city, right? We have clues to older civilizations in the area. And so I reckon they may have simply recycled blocks. So I'd love to have a look, see what I can see.
We just talked to, I don't know if Megan, I think it was Jason that was with me, but to this guy, Enrique Agostino. He's has a channel called One-Eyed Giant Building Rocks, something like that. But he's mapped over 1,000 Cyclopean wall sites across the world, and most of them are in that area. It makes sense that they could be part of, some kind of ancient civilization, like rebuilt like a bunch of different times,
Precisely. And also, if you look at even things like Khufu's Egypt, archaeologists don't want to say so, but it may have been much bigger than Egypt. It may have been parts of Italy. It may have been parts of Greece. That whole area over history has tended to be ruled by one empire. So you would see similar stuff throughout that whole Eastern Mediterranean area. That's a top hotspot, and it's even a top potential ice age hotspot. Due to the fact that it's not too far north, you can actually grow stuff there. It's sort of the layout of the archaeology proves that there was an ice age civilization because it's all concentrated in those warm areas, as we pointed out earlier. So,
yeah, I think you're right. I think all these crazy sites are like in places where there would have been like people surviving and thriving and stuff like that pre ice age. So as these topics become mainstream, like what's your goal for the future of your channel? What kind of topics are you trying to cover, and what's the plans for the future?
Plans for the future, I want to travel a bit more and to visit some of these sites.
Me too.
I might move into a direction of doing tours with somebody. NEXT says, "Come on, Charles, let's do some." I don't know if you've interviewed him. He said, "Come on, Charles, let's do some tours."
No, but I've heard of him.
And also one or two others. And but I've been resisting it, like because. It's a bit of a hassle to travel, isn't it? But
right. And then you got to be in charge of a bunch of other people too.
You have to go there a couple times yourself and see the site and plan everything. But if you do it with other people in a consortium, so it would be so much easier, to get running. Or running tours in Melbourne. I might start that up again just for kicks and. Now that there's things like Viator, which there weren't when I was doing it 10 years ago, it was a bit harder. And people can you get 80% of the money. But I might put more, visiting ancient sites, put that on the channel and just going. I want to go there to these sites with a tape measure because I'm trying to run all these ancient sites through Claude. And Claude is saying, Charles, you need to go to this survey results, to this journal, and see if you can find the exact numbers because we are only seeing round numbers, and these round numbers done in feet or even metric will come out as round numbers. Thus, you cannot prove your theory. So that's why I've even been careful with my theory. So with the Sphinx, we do have the exact numbers, so it's been easy. I can say it for sure. But other sites, They look like rods. They smell like rods. They smell like chains. But I actually can't prove it without going there with a tape measure and doing it myself, right? Because I can't access the dimensions. They're only rough dimensions.
You mentioned a couple times using AI. How has AI like helped in your research, and how do you use it? And like, what do you see it as? Do you see it as like an eventual truth finder in what the questions we're looking for?
Yeah, it is a highly manipulative truth finder.
Yeah,
it's I've been using Claude. So Claude is the one that the academics use to help write their stuff at the moment. They don't let the students use it, but I believe you me, they will be using this to help draft their books and papers because it is so good.
Yeah.
So I've got the Claude subscription. It's and Claude it's very reluctant to say things. I've noticed it's more reluctant than Grok is also good. You don't want it to agree with you too readily. So Claude, I'm always fighting a battle against it. It's always saying could be this, could be that. And I'm happy to be wrong. So I'm happy to be wrong. I don't mind that, and I think ancient mystery people don't mind that too much.
No, I don't mind it.
Because we only started this to find the truth in the first place, so we don't mind it at all.
Yeah,
and this, we know for sure that humans are much older than they say, that civilization's much older than they say. You can't even get to sleep without a warm house around you. That's the thing. You can't sleep if it's too cold. We've always built houses. Where's man's missing link? We don't have one. Why don't we have one? Maybe because we're extremely old, older than they say.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe we're in one big cycle. So unfortunately, cataclysmic cycle, potentially, which it really feels like things are ramping up lately, but maybe that's just from my perspective. But it really feels like something's ramping up with AI and stuff. Yeah, do you see that being a crazy issue in the future?
Yes, like the AI compared to last year, it's way better.
Way better, yeah.
Way better. Yeah. Because it has access to so much more computing power than it did, so much more databases.
Information.
It's scary.
Yeah. It's scary what it's going to be able to do and what everyone's going to use it for in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think there's going to be any jobs. I don't think people are ready for this, but I think there's going to be like, we're going to get like a guy told me that would know that it was going to be like 40% job decrease in the next 3 years.
Yeah, because I mean, a white collar job, you get mentally exhausted. You have to rest. This doesn't have to rest.
Right.
This works when you want it to work. I mean, yeah.
So now you can go home and make a YouTube channel or something, or do whatever you want. As long as they give everyone money, I think it'll be all right.
Yep.
But that's where we're headed. And with your channel, like you said, you wanted to travel more and sort of make some travel type videos.
Yeah, I used to travel a lot. I did America, only Michigan, Ohio, and I saw the Serpent Mound, and that was was interesting. Yeah, I'd love to visit some of these sites in order to appreciate better the landscape that they're set in as well, to see why these sites were chosen, and to see that the remnants of the lost civilization underneath. Even megalithic platforms underneath sites. So they will show you a site, I'm sure, and the local guides will say, this is 50 BC, the Temple of Jupiter, whatever, the Temple of Artemis. And then you'll see a massive megalithic wall underneath it, and you think, what is that? Well, I'd like to have a tape measure there and find out. I can put it civilization 1, 2, or 3. I can see, okay, is it Ice Age? Is it this? is that there's with megaliths, it's harder to see those rods and chains. It's more like measuring the plan of the dimensions of the site to see if they check out in the rods and the chains, because the blocks are likely to be cut up already just to get them on site. It's a lot harder. I
wonder if Sage Wall would check out.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I find that one interesting.
Again, I've tried so many of these sites, and it's hard to get that. Like you will not find an exact measure on that. You will find 50 meters or whatever. You know, I mean, it's just going to be what a guy thought it was on the day, rather than say someone like Flinders Petrie visited the site with his all his equipment and found out. A lot of the dimensions I've been using are Flinders Petrie's dimensions from 130 years ago. So it's not many people are doing it. It's hard.
Yeah, because you have to actually go to the site and do it, right?
Yeah, and who's got a ruler that long, and who's got the skill, you know?
Yeah. I wonder if AI can help with this somehow, make it...
It will, because I think it will, because it'll take the satellite photos and then run it through its computation to take out the errors and then tell me exactly how much they are.
Yeah.
But I think maybe a couple of years off, you know?
Yeah.
We're so close.
We're
so close to so many answers.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's why the UFOs are coming back. I just want to see one. I want Charles to see one. Would you want to see one? No.
Me?
Well, it would be. Oh, no. Come on, Megan, go on.
Oh, I thought he was asking me. I've seen something. I'm not sure what it was, like some sort of orb, I believe. But then you start questioning yourself, sort of like you were saying with the ghosts. Like you're like, but I was kind of tired, and you start sort of like talking yourself out of it. But
we're gaslighting our own brain. Our brains are assuring us we saw something we cannot possibly explain, and then we're gaslighting ourselves out of it to fit into the herd mentality. So we're not being scientists always.
Yeah.
I think it's like a defense mechanism. You're like, it's like it scared the shit out of you, so you want to just pretend it wasn't real. But I think like most things that we observe with our consciousness and our subconscious is like real in some way. I don't exactly. I mean, we're creating reality, aren't we, right now, while we're observing it across space and time.
Sorry, Charles, do you want to see one? Do you want to see one? I feel like I stole your question there.
I'd love to see UFO, but I think you have to be in the right geographical location. So you have to be in the USA, maybe in the Hudson Valley, somewhere like that, where if it's a magnetic anomaly of some sort, that's happening regularly, you know. But then it's geographically based. Like so. The ex I had in Michigan, she said I've been abducted by aliens in every house I've lived in except for the current one. You know? So, and yeah, she was telling me we had campfire instead of ghost stories. She's telling me alien abduction stories. So I thought, America's a different place, isn't it? It's and it's not just her. It's
I've talked to so many people who've been abducted by aliens, or I've seen like you know, orbs and stuff like that. I want to believe it's true. I do believe it's true. I've just talked to too many people, you know. But it feels like that's ramping up as the truth is coming out with all this AI stuff, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, what do you see the future of sort of the lost ancient civilization conversation in the next 3 to 5 years once AI gets through it all?
I hope, you know, I actually hope to see ancient mysteries as a subject at universities, because it's multidisciplinary.
Yeah.
It can be its own sort of sub-faculty or something.
Yeah, exactly.
At least it could be a psychology subject about what people believing funny ideas, you know, and it crosses into so many fields. And there is so much scope for information there that it should be actually taught at a higher level, and it could augment archaeology. Archaeology is kind of teaching a 19th century story of history, more than it is about making new discoveries at the moment. I don't see it as making much new discoveries. because they have to fit into a dogma. Yeah, they have to fit into a dogma to be publishable. So if they don't fit into a dogma, I'm wondering how much of the Ice Age has been found. The archaeologists don't know what it is, or they don't even see it because they are blind to it. They're definitely not going to publish it in their excavations. And they're only excavating sort of known sites anyway. They're not digging trenches into the wilderness in the equatorial regions. So, archaeology can't progress much more than it has. It's done. It's a dogma. It's finished, right? But this progresses, right, with ancient mysteries.
Yeah, we got to keep having conversations like this, right? I think the future is like here, and it's going to be AI driven. It'll be interesting. You've written a couple of books. This is the most recent one. Is there any plans to write a new book?
I also wrote another one more recently on the Confessions of the Gods, slightly in the von Däniken style, about the Mahabharata. I'm working on one now. This one is about the chain and the rod and the megaliths, and how it's going to be called How to Think Like a Druid. And it's basically saying the druids are by definition, the word means triple, druid, triple, the true people, the triple religion. This was a worldwide religion, identical to Pythagoreanism, identical to the pyramid builder ideas. And so this book here, that is Aleister Crowley's picture of his creature, similar to the Greys. But actually, that's not what I'm using it for. I'm using this as an example of a previous type of human with a bigger head.
Ooh.
That's a wild picture.
Yeah, there was a picture found in South Africa. It is a wild picture. A picture found in people found in South Africa. They found massive skulls called the Boskops. So you can look that up. Hardly any information about them. Currently, a neuroscientist a few years ago wrote a book called Big Brain mentioning them, but other people have rubbished this and criticized this, saying, oh, these are just outlier skulls, these are just freaks of nature. But it may have been a race of people, highly neotomized, that is childlike, big heads, small bodies, like a fetus, like a whale, big head, small body. And so I'm thinking, okay, this might explain some things in archaeology. We can't find the ruins. Why? Maybe these were a much cleverer people than us, and they could have had a smaller population to develop high level of science.
Yes.
This book is about book 2 of the Mahabharata, about something called, I think it's called, I'm going to get this wrong, the Kurutakasha War or something. This war lasted 18 days, and it says 3 billion people died, or something, 2.5 or 3 billion people died in this war. The first 9 days is conventional, and the second 9 days it escalated out of control, and basically everyone died. In this way, it's similar to the Nordic wars, in which everyone dies, even the gods die, but then they're resurrected. So in this war, something similar to nuclear weapons are used in the ancient texts, and put into that context. Suddenly all these lost civilization ideas and ancient nuclear ideas don't seem so strange when you look at the Hindu texts. And you speak to Indians. In Melbourne, it's one of the biggest Indian cities. We have so many Indians here. And I've spoken to Indians. I was at a party, there was just Indians and Sri Lankans. And I asked them about this ancient writing. And the Sri Lankans said, yeah, that's true. Our ancient stories describe spaceships and high-level science, but the Indians stole our story, and they changed the names to fit their dynasties and kings.
No, man, those dudes were riding around on spaceships and shooting missiles at each other and stuff like that.
Well, it's in the ancient books.
They had photon torpedoes and stuff like that. Like it was, they weren't. They were very overt about it. They had all that shit.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
it's in the literature.
It is. So you said you were planning on you were working on a new book right now, correct?
Yes, I'm working on it, and it's so this was my best one here. This one, it's done almost to an academic standard. I put a lot of effort into this one. The other one's more in the von Däniken style, partly as a homage and partly because it was great fun to write. Whether it's true or not doesn't particularly matter. I was more paraphrasing what the ancients are saying. This is what they said. This is their story. This one is more saying what could pyramids possibly be for? And I come to the conclusion it is a religion. They cannot be tombs because you had an existing religion of world worship and four-faced staff gods. Basically a god with four faces. So this is a religion. It is worldwide. I'm saying it's not localized to Egypt. They're found everywhere. And the mounds of Europe are the same religion done in Europe, in a country where you didn't need to use stone. You could have used soil. It's enough.
It's a worldwide religion, Megan. You think?
I'm on board with that. They're all over the place. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. And
you do like weekly videos, or how do you do that?
Oh, whenever I feel like it, really.
Yeah.
If I start making videos, I'll make a lot. Otherwise, sometimes I might take a break for a long time. So they're not regular uploads, that's for sure.
So you take long breaks and then you do a bunch or in a row kind of thing?
Exactly. And often one video will lead to another discovery, so I have to make another video.
Okay.
I have to talk about and that's why I started doing it, because I just feel this inner compulsion, as I'm sure you guys do, to do this. This is not making us money. This is impoverishing us. There's this inner thing to tell people, right?
Totally.
I pay more for this than I make. Yeah, that's for sure.
And that's a true scientist. We're doing it as a hobby. This is out of love, you know.
Yeah.
That is a real scientist. We don't need to be paid. In fact, we will pay to have it done.
Yeah, I've funded a few missions for myself. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about. I do think we're all going to have a lot of time on our hands, so we're gonna all get to find what we're passionate about. It sounds like you found what you're passionate about doing this, writing. Would you ever consider speaking? Do you speak? You wrote a book on public speaking, didn't you?
Yeah, so me and a friend, we were going to start a public speaking business to train people. I was in Toastmasters for a long time, and we were going to do this training business, and then our first meeting got obliterated by a lockdown, so I had to cancel it. And after that, he moved overseas, started a family, so that was the end of that. And but we were going to head in that direction. And COVID happened. I gained weight that I can't seem to lose, so I need to start backpacking again to lose that weight. And to, in Europe, I was just eating berries, raw vegan, and I was so skinny. And now I'm just eating everything, and that is, it's a bit too carrying a bit too much.
I think it's super cool that you used to lead like tourist tours around Melbourne. Like, so if some like dumb American like me showed up and was like just Googled something, I might find you back then, and you'd give me a tour around Melbourne.
That's right. I did a crime tour. I'd tell them all the funny stories about the criminal history and all the weird stuff that happened. A little bit about pirates. We have two funny missing treasure stories, which are often confused with each other in the gold rush. Ships having vanished, taking all the treasure out of Melbourne. People's treasure that they dug up in the gold diggings.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and I was combining crime tour with architecture, but the problem with Melbourne is our history has been demolished. The city has grown so fast that we actually don't have an old city. Unlike beautiful Europe, we have an old city,
Right.
So, same in America, they've demolished all the 19th century tenements and houses, and it's a shame.
Yeah, I think that's a cool job, though. Were you walking around when you were doing it, or driving around?
Walking. These were walking tours.
Oh, see,
in the city.
that's how you get active again. So you mentioned you were going to do that before you're thinking about doing that again.
Yeah, I will do it again, and because now it's a lot easier to set up, and there's online payment systems, and that could translate into overseas tours as well, even of parts of Asia. I'm just terrified of going, being bitten by a rabid dog in some site in Bali or Egypt. It's been holding me back. Or getting alpine sickness in Peru.
No, thanks.
I'm over 6 foot, so apparently taller people can get it. So I'm scared, this is starting with Turkey. Maybe Turkey, it's a bit easier. So Megan, you're at Indonesia, James. Have you've been a couple times?
Yeah, I connected with Danny Hillman, who's the rebel geologist over there that's investigating Gunung Padang. And I got to be there at the start of the archaeological excavation in the fall, and even speak at a little conference about the work that I'm doing over there that was about the pyramid with all the scientists and stuff. So they've just sort of welcomed me and my wacky ideas in with open arms, and they're just wonderful over there. So if you ever get over to Indonesia, let me know and I'll hook you up with some really interesting people.
That's awesome, because actually Aussies don't even go to Indonesia. They just do Bali, Thailand.
Yeah.
That's it really.
That's Bali, yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I need to go to all those places. I got places to go. I think we all do. Dr. Charles Kos. You can subscribe to him on YouTube. Is that how you find it? Is that how you find it? Just Dr. Charles Kos?
Yeah, it's just Charles Kos is and that should find the channel. And
go ahead and give him a subscribe. Let's get him to 50K.
Yeah, I just did while we were talking.
Yeah, same.
It's been at this number since it's been at this number of subbies since about 2019. It just shot up like a rocket, and then it stayed still. So
I've been kind of steady growing, but it's not that consistent.
Yeah. Anyway,
we'll take the shoot up like a rocket if we can get it.
That's okay.
We really appreciate your time today, man, and you got a real cool channel, and you're doing great stuff in the space, and so we are grateful to have you on the show. Megan, any final words for Dr. Charles Kos?
I really appreciate how you're cultivating curiosity in people, and you're not claiming to have all the answers, and you're keeping an open mind, but really just sharing the things that intrigue you and spreading that knowledge for people to make their own conclusions. And I can't wait to dig into your channel. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you.
I appreciate you stepping out on the academic limb. Not a lot of people do that, but I think it's one of the most important things. And there needs to be less fighting from each side and more collaboration. There's people doing serious work on the quote alternative side.
Oh, absolutely. It's you look at the 2025, anything around Giza, it's the amateurs making all these discoveries at the moment for the last couple of decades. Hawass has made a few, but they're in the conventional realm, and they're not going to change the world. They're just a few bits of the pyramid that we haven't seen before, but they're not changing anything really that we don't already know, to be honest. He discovered a road, and I think he discovered that the foundation of the small satellite pyramid at Giza as well. But yeah, these aren't going to set the world on fire or anything. So we're required as well to do that, right?
It's in his book. Yeah, we're doing it, and I appreciate what you're doing, my man. And thank you so much for joining the Multiverse. Light, love, and truth to you, my friend, and to everyone watching.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Megan. I appreciate you too, and you guys are wonderful people.
Oh, I gotcha.